resentment, fear, confusion at Donald Trump declaring Liberation Day and tariffing the entire world.
Romans, now to break down what all this means for American consumers.
Yeah, this is exactly what the president has been promising, an aggressive stance.
At rates higher than anybody expected, Donald Trump self-inflicting a collapse of the United States economy.
Trump just declared a so-called Liberation Day and slapped tariffs on basically everyone. Only problem? He's taxing a US military base and an island full of penguins. Yes, really, world leaders aren't just mad. They're taking turns roasting Trump like it's a Comedy Central special. The EU's Ursula von der Leyen said Europe is disgusted.
Against countries he feels are ripping off the United States, you're talking about a 10% baseline tariff on all imports.
By declaring Liberation Day in America, the futures market last night crashing by 1,000 points and more.
While professors are calling it the dumbest, most economically illiterate speech they've ever heard, and his own Treasury Secretary doesn't even know what's in the plan. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the International Comedy Central roast of Donald Trump's brilliant tariff plan. Tonight we've got world leaders lined up at the mic, ready to absolutely torch the economic literacy of America's orange economist-in-chief. And trust me, they're not holding back.
Oliver Cooper says, can someone please tell Donald Trump that the only people in the British Indian Ocean Territory are the U.S. base at DA?
And then on top of that, higher tariffs for about 60 countries that he calls the worst offenders. That would bring a tariff rate to 49%.
Did you know Trump's own Treasury Secretary couldn't even explain what was in the tariff plan? When reporters asked Scott Bessent about the specific details, he awkwardly admitted, "I'm not part of the negotiations, so, you know, we'll see." That's right, the Treasury Secretary doesn't know what's in the plan. It's like the pilot announcing, "I have no idea how to land this thing, but enjoy your flight."
And 10%, that baseline tariff for the UK. The president calling these kind reciprocal tariffs.
Taxing an American military base. Also, if you look at the chart of who Donald Trump is tariffing, he's tariffing the Hurd and McDonald.
To Cambodia, 46% Vietnam. You can see it on your screen there. 20% for the European Union.
First up to the roasting podium is European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen, who didn't just express disappointment, she brought out the full thesaurus of disgust. Europe felt disenchanted, disheartened, and disgusted, she declared, with the perfect mix of European sophistication and "are you freaking kidding me" energy. You can almost hear her thinking, I was planning a nice, peaceful summer in Brussels, and now I have to deal with this nonsense.
Crossing U.S. borders, crossing ports, coming into the United States, that's the baseline. That would start April 5th at 12:01 a.m.
Donald Trump listed every country that is being tariffed, which he's calling Liberation Day, when you actually look at the chart as well.
But von der Leyen wasn't just throwing shade, she was throwing the entire EU shade forest. "We think it is wrong," she stated with that classic European directness, before reminding Trump that Europe isn't some pushover continent. "We have everything we need to protect our people and our prosperity," she continued, essentially telling Trump, "We've got the biggest single market in the world, buddy. You might want to rethink picking this fight." Next up, UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer took the mic with that classic British understatement. While Trump was running around screaming about Liberation Day, Starmer calmly noted that a trade war is in nobody's interests. It's the diplomatic equivalent of saying, "Sir, this is a Wendy's." Starmer promised a calm, pragmatic approach, while Trump throws his economic tantrum. It's like watching one adult and one toddler negotiate over toy distribution in a kindergarten.
Islands, he's not making this up, declaring a trade war with penguins, planned tariffs that were shared by the White House.
Because he says that he's just going to charge half of whatever their tariffs and non-tariff barriers are to the U.S.
But the real fire came from down under, where Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese wasn't mincing words about these totally unwarranted tariffs. Albanese pointed out the ridiculous logic gap in Trump's thinking. President Trump referred to reciprocal tariffs. A reciprocal tariff would be 0, not 10%. Ouch, that's some serious mathematical fact-checking that clearly nobody on Trump's team bothered to do. Albanese added that the tariffs have no basis in logics, which might be the most diplomatic way possible of saying this plan is dumber than a koala on ketamine.
Includes an island that's uninhabited other than penguins. Now, James Suratsky and others have been going through the formula
to try to send this message. He says that the United States has been ripped off. He's also declaring a state of emergency here, a national emergency, and saying that
the academic community wasn't going to miss this roast either. Professor Scott Lucas from University College Dublin delivered perhaps the most scorching assessment, calling Trump's speech the dumbest, most economically illiterate speech I have heard in my life. That's coming from a professor who's presumably heard thousands of freshman economics presentations. Lucas didn't stop there, pointing out that while Trump claimed the EU has a 39% tariff rate on US goods, the actual weighted average is a measly 1%. That's not just being wrong, that's being wrong by a factor of 39. Even Trump's golf score padding isn't that ambitious. But wait, folks, we haven't even gotten to the most ridiculous part yet.
he wants to reindustrialize the United States after decades of bad trade deals that have hollowed out, he says, the American factory.
For how Donald Trump and his regime actually calculated this tariff scheme stunt.
Trump's tariff plan targets. Wait for it. The British Indian Ocean Territory. What's there, you ask? Oh, just Diego Garcia, a US military base. That's right. Trump is essentially taxing America's own military installation. It's like punching yourself in the face and demanding your fist pay for the damage. And if that wasn't absurd enough, the tariffs also target the Heard and McDonald Islands. Never heard of them? That's because they're uninhabited except for penguins. Trump is literally declaring economic war on penguins. What did the penguins ever do to you, Donald? Refuse to wear MAGA hats? Steal your fish sticks? The man who couldn't find Ukraine on a map somehow found time to target a frozen rock at the bottom of the world that not even the penguins want to live on full time.
This afternoon, this is not a negotiation. For all those people who are saying, is this just the president negotiating with other countries? This senior official saying it's not a negotiation.
Induced world economic collapse. And it's by lying and saying, oh, these were just reciprocal tariffs.
You know your economic plan has gone off the rails when you're taxing your own military bases and declaring financial warfare on flightless birds. Even the penguins are probably waddling around confused, wondering why they're suddenly part of Trump's enemies of America list. Perhaps they're too black and white in a world where Trump prefers everything to be simply orange.
It's a national emergency. This will be money coming into American coffers.
All right, the president about to sign an executive order. We assume it's the one covering everything we've talked.
I mean, if you look at the tariff rate of, let's say, Europe versus the United States, it was like each country in Europe were tariffing each other.
Is the U.S. now bracing and expecting retaliation on this trade war?
Some of these countries, like Canada, have promised retaliation. We haven't really heard.
So world leaders aren't the only ones sounding the alarm about Trump's tariff tantrum. Economists are now predicting a global economic hit of $1.4 trillion. That's not winning. That's economic self-sabotage on a grand scale. Even more alarming, Trump's tariffs would reach a whopping 29%, significantly higher than the infamous Smoot-Hawley tariffs that helped tank the economy into the Great Depression. As Senator Rand Paul pointed out, tariff-happy President McKinley lost half his seats after his 1890 tariff fiasco, and Smoot-Hawley cost Republicans control of Congress for 60 years. Trump's Liberation Day is liberating, all right, liberating money directly from American wallets.